Londell.
Okay,
Nobody says anything. They just
going live, going live, going
okay.
live. Hey, hello everybody out there. This is Lady Shell and Layroon. We are doing the LNL chats for Fantasy Grounds College. Today is going to be Fantasy Grounds Token Talk. That's right, Fantasy Grounds Token Talk. We're going to talk about tokens today. One of the things that I've noticed over time is that tokens can be a little bit of a bear. They tend to take up a lot of memory. And we're going to discuss some of that today. And I have my hostess with the mostest, Lady Shell. How you doing?
Fine. Huh? Oops, I cut off there. I just set myself to push to talk, so you didn't hear any background noise. Sorry about that.
Yep,
How are you anyway?
I'm doing okay. Just waiting for the missus to come home. Decided to do this last minute stream. Yay, tokens, exactly. So we're going to talk about some tokens today. We're going to show some. We're going to talk about what you can do with them. We're going to give some resources out. It's going to be fun. So, Lady Shell, do you have any particular tokens that you favor? Like, not talking about author, but what type of token would you like to see?
I like the top-down tokens. I know a lot of people like the round circle ones. Maybe they're probably easier to build because it's easier to find a picture that you can place in a token. But the top-down ones, their artwork and they're more unique. I really like.
So, right now I'm using a tool. This is called Token Tool, and it's from a website called RP Tools. They have other items that can be used to play online. But tool works really well for centering and setting up different things like cards and overlays for it's specific to token making. That's kind of why I like it. You don't need GIMP or Photoshop. You can just kind of hack everything together. So
And it's
this
free,
and it's
right?
free. Yeah, and it works pretty good. So I want to talk a little bit about the setup of it. I'm not here to do a demonstration training of the tool, but I'm going to show you a few things. So it has some save options. So when you're setting this tool up for the first time, you want to set up these options. So if you have a token file name, you'd put that there. And then you could put a suffix or a prefix on your actual tokens. So whenever you create it, it'll either use a file numbering system for a suffix, or you can use a portrait suffix. In this case, I use TKN in brackets. That way, it actually, every time I make a token, it'll put that TKN in the title. So when I save it, I'll know that that is a token file.
That's similar to the way that you set up your maps and handouts when you're naming them in
Yes,
Fantasy Grounds, where you put the first part and then you put a comma and then you put the actual file
right,
name or what you want to call it.
right.
That's a good way of figuring out what is what.
Yeah, you can identify what's what, and it also helps filter the file before you even, need to do it yourself. And then if you put a number on it and you have a catalog of some sort, that would be handy. So if you're going to sell tokens, you made your own, that might be a handy tool to use so that you can add numbering systems automatically as you put them in the token tool maker.
Right, and Greg has mentioned that it also works on Mac. So Mac users, there you go.
Nice. Good to know that. The other thing is for backgrounds, right now I have a transparent background, but if you wanted to, you could replace that with any photo you like, hopefully somewhat high resolution. But that is where I have the set as transparent, so I don't want any extra background. And then your portrait options, right now I have this Battlesmith up here on the token base. So these are two images that are merged. So I'm going to go ahead and change this token. Do you have any particular tokens that you'd like to see, Lady Shell? I mean, not necessarily author, but just a favorite character type or, something that you might
How
enjoy.
about something different to me? I've never played a monk, but I would like to see a monk.
You got it. So I have a bunch of tokens that I've collected over the years. I've either purchased them, commissioned them, or they've come with other rule sets that I've worked with. It just depends on the given day, but I have quite a number of them. And what I'm going to be doing is putting a base on them so that they stand out a little bit better on the map. And I'll show you what I'm talking about shortly here. So here is a token of a monk that I had commissioned. His name's Erlin, and he's a monk of the Yellow Order of the Rose from the Forgotten Realms. And right now, you can actually take him and move him around on the base. I think he was pretty well centered the way he was. And this base can be changed on the size. So that was the portrait layer. And now the overlay options, you can decide if you want to send it backwards or you can send it forward. And in this case, I have it sent backwards. You can change the base size. So roughly, I think 100 is a good base size, but it also depends on the size of your token. So you're going to have to kind of decide, I think 150 looks pretty good. But then again, 200 looked even better because then you can see the contrast around the token itself.
However, the larger you get, the more RAM it takes up.
That's right. So the file size gets bigger, it'll take up more RAM, but also when this scales down to 50 pixels or whatever you have your grid set on your map, that'll also change the size of the character as it scales. So you have to keep that in mind as well. So you don't want to have a huge token sitting on there or a little tiny thing, and then when you shrink it down, it's so tiny you can't even see it. So you got to kind of play around with the settings on it and figure out a good combination. I try not to stretch or scale tokens too much because the level of detail it's at now, if I zoom it in too much, then it gets too blurry. And then if I zoom out too much, it gets to where I can't see the detail. So it's best if you try to leave it at the original resolution and size that the author had made it originally. So this
I
token,
think,
go ahead.
excuse me, I was just going to say that I think that if you start larger and then you could always reduce the size and then it keeps your detail that way.
Yes.
So, like, you're at 200 right now, but
Yep.
then if you want to make the end product be 150, then you're not going to lose maybe your detail. At least I
Yes.
would hope that that
Yeah,
would
it's
be
like
the
a
case.
halfway point.
Yeah, actually, Windrunner Murder Hobo
Hmm.
wants to know, does the tool allow you to resize resolutions through?
It does on the base, so I can change, well, not the resolution, but I can change the size. And then I can also change the opacity. So if you wanted to make it a little bit more clear, you can do that. But I think you might have to manipulate these before you import them because this is not a full-on photo editor. I'm going to take a look though. So edit. Yeah, so you can copy and paste. Yeah, you can merge and you can, you know, take it. You can open up a PDF and extract images out of it and make tokens, but really there's no photo editor built in. So you have just like resizing and opacity and selecting your layers, but you can't really edit it like you would a photo editor. So technically, you would have to have some of the stuff closer to the size you want before you start. So I think that would be a thing to do if you were doing a whole batch of them, is to make sure that it's the right size and that that's the resolution or the size that you want before you start.
So basically, you're taking the actual character itself, which would be artwork previously done, and then what you're manipulating is the base itself, not the
Correct.
actual artwork, other than the fact of where it's placed on the base.
Correct. Exactly. So what do you think about 150? That's the size of the base right now.
He looks a little hulkish. He looks a
Yeah,
little
it
too big
does.
for the
But then when
base.
you go to 200, it's not too bad. But what happens is when you put this in a square on a map, it'll make him look kind of small.
That's true.
So that's what I'm saying. So maybe 150 is the ticket. But then you're
I
kind of
like that
loose.
size.
I do too, but then you're kind of defeating the purpose of putting a base on it. So I think that this is going to have to do, because the whole
Okay.
idea of doing this is so you have that contrast. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about shortly here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And already it says Battlesmith human female. No, I want it to say monk.
I was gonna say that it doesn't look like a Battlesmith human female. It carried over your file name from previous.
Yeah,
Greg said 175 gives the effect that he's sized like a
a what? A midget?
mini, not midget, but mini.
Oh, a
You
mini?
know, your mini. What you do in
Oh,
your
yeah, yeah.
space games, which I don't
I
know how to
wondered if it
play.
would let me do 175. Because that's 150. Let me see if I can type it. Yeah, it's not letting me change the number. Oh, because
It's
it's
not.
locked.
It's
That's
got
why.
set options probably for sizes. Oh, there you go. You've changed
Unlock
to
it.
175. Oh, it didn't stay. Huh.
There we go. Much better.
Oh yeah, I do like that.
So now I have the base locked at 175. Perfect. And I do have a little opacity on the base so you can see through it a little bit. Just in case you're on a structure and you want to see a little bit of the detail like grass or something, but you don't see the whole thing. Just gives you the texture underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and hit File, Save As.
Now I already said that I never played a monk, so if this is a dumb question, then that's because I've never played a monk. What are the weapons that he has in his hands? Are those like katanas?
Katanas are more like blades. I can't remember what these are. They're a martial arts slash um, ninja type weapon. I can't remember the name. There's so many different iterations, but I think they're called kamas, and they usually use them two-handedly. And sometimes in some of the old martial arts movie, I've seen them where they had a chain in between them, and they'd kind of wrap them around things and throw them, and they'd wrap around someone's neck or something like that.
I
But
think I've seen Bruce Lee swing some of that stuff around, unless it's something else. Does anyone in the chat know what those are called?
I think they're called kamas.
Kama. Yep,
Yep.
that's what Greg.
Yeah, kamas are pretty cool. They kind of remind me of like an axe, but it kind of has a bite to it, and I've seen martial arts movies where the guy's running through the woods and he'll jump up in the air like 25 feet, and he'll use the kamas to help him climb up the tree. Those old medieval fantasy Chinese or Japanese movies that are really cool. They have a lot of those movies are, they're kind of a B-rated budget, but the story and the some of the special effects and the fighting are awesome. I really wish that the United States and whoever that publisher was back then got together and took like the Conan type movie and mixed it with that martial arts fantasy stuff. I think that would have been a really cool combination. The only one who's come close, there's a couple that have come close, but not quite. So, anyways, here's the token now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up Publisher, and here is a new
Do you
image.
remember what race he is? Is he just a beefy looking human?
Who, Erland?
Your monk, yes.
Yeah, his name's Erland, but yes, the monk. Yeah, he's just a beefy, tough, buff little. He's not very tall. He's only like 5'6" or 5'7", but he's like stocky like a dwarf, just about.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was another race because it's
Yeah.
kind of short.
So I'm gonna put it. Just grab a map or some kind of background. That way we can kind of get some contrast. So what I'm gonna do is just temporarily insert or format this image here. So let's see. I'm going to go to page. I'm using Publisher right now just to kind of prove a point here. So I'm going to go to the backgrounds and I'm going to pull in something from the internet temporarily, not to use it to sell, but just kind of to show things. And then I'm going to click insert and I'm going to go from the web, or I can go from one of my many maps that I have. I mean, I got tons of them, but I want to pull something off the net. So I'm going to pull something with a grid that has, some forest or something. All right, so I like this farm looking thing, whatever that is. But that doesn't really have any. Oh, here's an advertisement for Heroic Maps. There we go. Let's use that one. So this is just a map that I'm going to use to illustrate the difference on the tokens. So I'm going to import two of the same tokens, one with the base, one without. So I'm going to go ahead and go to
I like this
pictures.
map.
Yeah, it is pretty cool actually. I wish I knew what the heck it was. Let's see. So I'm going to go to where I was working earlier. So these are the two.
The only thing I don't like is that it's pre-gridded.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's kind of why, I'm trying to do this without Fantasy Grounds. So that you can really see that a lot closer. But compared to that, it's kind of, you can stretch this a little bit. Oh,
Actually, this wasn't a a good demonstration because he shows up good either way because of his coloring.
yeah, but I'm looking at both of them, and what's really confusing is the stonework here. So if you look at that stone with those flowers on it,
Oh yeah,
look how close that is in color.
yeah. It looks like he's too small then, right?
Well, it
Or
just
those are
blends in because,
land of the midgets or something. No, what is it like that tiny
yeah,
people or something?
yeah, like
Where they got what?
Gulliver's
Where they
Travels.
got shrunk down or something?
Oh,
Yeah.
Dr. Shrinker. Yeah, whoever gridded this map, I think they gridded it a little bit too big, scale wise. Unless these are just bushes. Because it doesn't look quite to scale. I mean, just in comparison. But just to look at the contrast on this map is incredible. It just it changes things and gives you a better definition of where you're sitting in within a grid.
I can just see this map in Unity with the water effects on that little pond. That would look so nice.
Yeah, it would. Let's see if I bring in something else what that would look like. So something a little different, but for some contrast. All right. So this
Also,
is
if anyone knows who did this map or you did this map, and you could let us know, we would put the credit for it in our description on our video.
okay. So that's a kind of a drider. I don't know if they're considered medium or large, but if it was large, that's how big they would be. So I kind of like the base. It does give it that mini feel. Yeah, it strategically it looks better to me. Artwork wise, it kind of looks crappy, but
Driders are medium. I just looked it up.
okay. So they don't take a whole 4 squares.
Not unless someone cast enlarge. See, now if it was a Durger, he can enlarge.
So now look at this character, this dwarf. It's kind of hard to see it. I
Hey,
mean,
I recognize that character.
so for tokens for Fantasy Grounds, there are 3 recommended starting sizes for at least for the base or for the tokens themselves for in square pixels. So if you have a small to medium creature, the recommended size is 100 by 100 pixels, which is double the amount of pixels for the recommended map size, which is 50 by 50. The other thing is for large creatures, they suggest 200 by 200. For huge or anything like that, it's 400 by 400 or 300 by 300. You get any larger than that, it's almost ridiculous for memory and such. So that's kind of how those tokens scale in Fantasy Grounds is, and it still pretty much holds true with Unity. You can have higher resolution images, but you're still only going to be able to cover a certain amount of area due to the size and also the way the map is scaled. So you have to kind of play around with the settings and to understand how it scales and how it messes about with the size of the token. But for the most part, it's just a matter of flavor and choice. I just kind of like the base there, but if you wanted to like make a base made out of this grass, you can basically cut a picture of this grass and you can put a bevel on it to make it look just like this square here, and you can put rounded corners on it, and then you would change you can put a gradient uh, effect on it to kind of give it some contrast, and then you could make a base that looks like grass. But that kind of defeats the purpose of having the contrast around the tokens.
Especially if you're in a dungeon. You look
Oh
kind of
yeah.
silly standing on a patch of grass.
Well, you could change. What I was saying is you can make a whole different bunch of bases and have different variations of your character. But I think it would be a pain in the ass for the GM, especially for Fantasy Grounds, to have to keep switching your token out every time you change environments. So I think just having it like this works pretty good.
I'd like to go back to where you were talking about the sizes and how it's important to keep your sizes down. And you might say, oh, well, I have this great computer and I have a great internet connection and I can handle a 500 or 600 pixel token, but you have to consider the fact that you have probably 5 to 6 people or 4 to 5 people on your table, as well as you who are all also accessing the tokens as well. So you have to not divide, multiply the amount by the number of people, and that goes for maps too, of course. Um, that you have to keep in consideration that other people are going to be accessing this too at the same time, using up all your RAM, and things will slow down and people will complain.
That's right.
Looking for a different, like a texture for your base. Oh, I see.
Actually,
You're looking for an effect. Oh, I
yeah,
like that.
she's casting bless spell.
Actually, when you put that on there, I thought dancing lights.
Okay. I was just thinking like a spell, like a spell effect. There, I'll make it look like they're fighting. See, he's got a spell effect on his hand too. All that detail, even close up, it looks pretty decent.
Remember the one that you made for me that when I was thinking of using the um
Yes,
Arcana cleric? She had a spell thing on her hand.
cool. Yeah, so there's that. So that's one reason you would want to put a base on it. The other thing is when you buy token packs, let's see, I'm going to go online here. Let's see. So you can go to the Fantasy Grounds store and they have packs that are already packaged up. So let's go to the store like we're going to buy some brand new tokens. So you can basically take this information that's here and filter it to where it's just tokens. It'll say token pack. Then you hit search. Oh, it even has a line of sight option now. All right, so you can buy these packs, and they install into Fantasy Grounds when you update. Once you buy it, they'll pull in, and you can access them through the interface. The only problem is that unless you write down what each one has in it, you're really not gonna know what's in it until you open the pack. So you see it right here. There's mummies, liches. It'd be really nice if there was a way that you could somehow label the packs, especially in Classic, because you have to open up every module just to see the picture of it. And it's the way it's packaged is you can't redistribute the tokens. You have to leave them as they are. You can't move them around. So you may want to just buy tokens separately, loose. So instead of going here and buying this one, it's still Devin Knight. We have a
That looks
website,
like it says Jan's token pack to me.
right? But I'm just saying, if you
Unless you
went,
change pages.
yeah. So if you go to Devin Knight's website, you can actually purchase it directly from him, and he actually gets a bigger cut. I think Fantasy Grounds gets 25-30%. But if you buy his packs online, he gets all the money, and then you can make your own specific token module, and you'll know exactly what's in it. So there is a way to do that. You can either load them loosely in your directory. So if you go to, just for an example, I'm going to pull up Unity here. And on the top the top left corner, there's a data folder. If you come into this data folder, there is a tokens folder, but this is more like a generic overall token. If you want to put them in a specific campaign, you go into your campaigns folder, and then you would go into the portraits or the token folder and put them in there. So yeah, so that they'll have their own images and portraits and whatnot. So it just depends on what you're doing, but that is where you would put your tokens, the loose ones. Now, if you want to make them a module, sort of like how they're packaged at the store for Fantasy Grounds, then you can make your own collections. Lady Shell has a link to it that shows you how to actually create a module, a token module, and it will save you from loading a lot of extra memory, especially in Classic, because the more of those token packs you have, and if you have them loose, just sitting in a folder and not actually part of a module, it actually takes a lot of memory to maintain that, even if you're not using them or accessing them. So that's why it's an idea to make a token pack, because they only load first of all, when you only load the module. And also, Unity only loads the image as you use it, supposedly. So there's some pluses and minuses to using Unity and Classic. Classic, you're gonna have a lot more stuff for it, but the tokens things are usually not as flexible as they will be in Unity. Unity gives you a little bit better chances at having higher resolution images. That way you don't have to scale everything down so blurry and so low res, but it does have some limitations to it as well. So that is basically how that works. Is you can put them in the back end, or if you go into a campaign setting, which I might just go ahead and do that. So RP Tools is a lot of fun. If you find yourself bored or sleepless, this works really well. One thing I failed to mention is that I have these other bases and rings. So if you go to a website such as this Roll Advantage token stamp, this is another way to create stamps for free and fairly easily. So this has a transparency around the edge of it. This is your viewing window. You drag and drop your image according to this from the basically from the center. So I'm going to open up my hard drive here and see if I got anything I can drag over there. I'm sure I have something. So these would be for like portrait faces and that sort of thing. You can use it for top downs, but they'd be rather flat and not so three-dimensional. So what I'm going to do is look for a photo that I can use for a picture.
How about the lumberjack or the
Oh
fisherman
yeah.
that I gave you?
I don't even know if I download those yet or not. Let's see. Oh, there's the
Or the
dog.
dog? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
you already did the dog, though.
yeah, but I can show it. Oh, actually I'll do this weird spider creature. That always creeps people out. So I'm just going to drag and drop it from my hard drive onto this website. And what it does is it lets you position, so you just kind of move this around and then you can stretch it. The problem with stretching a JPEG, which is this format, is that it will lose some of its resolution as you manipulate it, and might get a little blurry if it's not high enough definition file. But once you get it sized to where you want it, you could put this in here like this, even go even more. It's a little much. Now at this point, if it was transparent, you can change the background. But since it's not transparent, now I have to deal with, how do you, if you wanted to change the background, it'd be tough to do that. But you can change the circle that's around it and the color. So this has like a beige ring around it. So generally what I do is I'll keep it pretty light on the border tint. So you want it kind of a lighter color so that it's contrast with the darker map. So that's one way you can do this. And then if you wanted to, um, you can open this up in, I'm going to use GIMP, for example. I don't have Photoshop, so I use mostly free software. Let's see. I don't believe in this high-end software you have to rent every month. I think that's ridiculous.
Indeed.
I
Also,
mean,
Windrunner Murder Hobo says, "Why does he keep putting her chest in the center of the token?"
oh, my bad. I didn't even think about that till you said something. I was looking at her antler or her mandibles, not that.
Sure,
Somebody's
you
got a
were.
dirty mind. So that's that. Well, she's gonna be your date if you're not nice to me. I'm gonna have her come to your house and pick you up.
She reminds me of your Spidera in
Mm-hmm.
human form.
Yep,
Wouldn't she look something like that, where she would
that's
have the spider head but
yeah. Speaking of
body of a
which, I got a preview today. I'm excited. I'm all excited. I got a preview of those today. Where did it go?
Greg says, I let someone else pay for the Adobe subscriptions.
That's right.
Lucky.
So this is a preview copy of Spidera in her humanoid form. So she's not done yet, but she's being sketched. These are what the males are going to look like, the male spiders.
That looks like a female. See. Remember, we're looking at stuff like a few seconds
Okay, sorry.
after you say it. There, now I see the spider. Because when you said this is the male, we were looking at the female picture.
Yeah. So that's Spidera in her kind of her arachnid form. So those are the previews of the next tokens. It's pretty
Okay, she looks
exciting.
like she's wearing a mustache.
It
I mean,
kind
I
of
know
did.
that's her
Or mouth,
what do you call it?
mandibles, mandibulable. So where's the open with? The hell is that at? Yeah,
This is why I commission my tokens because
there we
I
go.
don't
I
do
right
stuff
clicked on it.
well in GIMP.
So is there any questions about tokens? Lady Shell had a link to um, a website, or excuse me, a YouTube video that Zacchaeus made a while back that gives you an idea of how to put one of those modules together. It's basically a zip file, and it has an XML file, a definition file, and you just have to keep the formatting the same. It's really not that bad. You end up unlocking it, and it's really not bad at all. It took me, maybe a week or so to kind of get the feel for it. All right, so this is the image. So instead of using this, I'm just going to add a transparency layer. So if I go to layer and I click transparency, add alpha channel, that's just going to add the underlying clear channel, and also gives me the ability to mask out these white parts in here. So I have this threshold, which is the sensitivity up to about 20. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And then the radius is the blend between the two colors. So if I click on it now, I'm on the magic wand tool. I just click in the area and hit delete, and it'll get rid of all the background. Now, if you have photos that are not as defined, it's a lot harder to do.
And I just put links to all the stuff that we were talking about in the chat there. I have the link to the RP Tools token tool. I have the link to the Roll Advantage token stamp. I have a link to, again, to the how to create a token module in Fantasy Grounds video. And then I have a link to Bernardo Hasselman's Patreon page and Devin Knight's tokens page. These are both token designers that we both appreciate their artistic ability, and we buy their stuff and subscribe to their Patreon. And we suggest you might want to go there and check out their things. They have some really good stuff.
So now I'm going to export this as a PNG file. And I'm just going to call it a spider witch for now. And I will export it. So now I have the image without the background. Now this one was really easy to do, but if you get a photo that has a ton of colors that are very similar, like if it was a reddish background and you had all this red in here, it'd be really hard to cut that out. So keep that in mind. So now that I've done that, I'll go ahead and close this. And let's take a look at Witch Lady. So now I'm going to do something a little bit different with her, I guess. So Erlin's a done deal, but what I'm going to do is, okay. So I just replaced him with her. I'm going to change the base now to something like that. And then I'm going to size, try to figure out a good size for this. I can use this to frame it, or you could, whatever you want, within reason, of course. So this would probably have to go down quite a bit if I wanted to use that as a token. But you get the idea that if I had this as just the face, I could substitute the ring. Or on that roll advantage token stamp, you could do the same thing. So instead of doing this, I will upload or drag this photo. So now when you use this, you have a little bit more flexibility on stretching it. It's not as distorted. And then you can use the background now. So instead of relying just on this color, I can mess around with the background color if I want. Make the border tint a little lighter. So that's kind of something cool you can do. And then if you want to, you got this new custom borders. So if you want to set a border, you can, I think I have some frames here. Yeah, so I have these custom frames. So you can also use these in this program here. So I'd probably find something that's like a spider looking theme.
It would be cool if the outside had like webs on it or something.
Yeah. But you can really get into this and design something that looks halfway decent. You just have to put your time in. There we go. This looks pretty good. So you could do something like that if you wanted to.
I'd rather that the border or
Mm,
whatever, the width of the token, the outer edge, it'd be narrower because she's a little more delicate, and that
yeah,
thing is overwhelming her.
I agree. So maybe a different frame, something a little less busy.
Something skinnier.
Okay. So I deleted the custom border and I am going to grab a different one. So there's some that are more plain, like these. What about this? Let's see. So she's kind of like a witch.
Ooh, that one with teeth is neat.
This one
The
down here.
far right. I mean left. Far left.
Yeah.
No. I think it was down a little more. It looked like an open mouth.
Yeah, that's this one, this animate object thing.
That one, yeah.
Oh, here's a witchy poo one. Yeah, it is a little much for that. But, you get the idea. You can really go crazy with these things and spend days on just doing this. So it just depends on how much work you want to put into it. Then you can download this as a PNG file. Yeah, I didn't quite do it the way I wanted though.
Yeah, I think there's too much going on the border
Mm-hmm.
that's taken away from looking at her.
Yeah, I agree. I think just the plain old border is the ticket. And you can also make them square too, by the way. And then there's some shadow where you can take this and um, put a little bit of shadow on it if you want. Ooh, like a red anger token, like a hostile or something like that.
I'm gonna give you a link. I'm gonna put it in the chat, and I'd like you to check this out. This is a page where this person is selling token frames. He has 299 ping files in the zip. Wait, is he selling these or is he giving them away? Here's what you get. I'm trying to find a price. It seems like, oh, I don't even see a price here. Check out this link though. I put it in the chat. Sorry.
I'm not in the chat. Yes, you put a mask on it if you want, and then or just don't.
Now I put it in your PM. Because if you could show that, there's some really cool looking frames there. In your PM. Why isn't it there? I just
So you can use different tools to achieve, what type of token you want. So I'm going to download this one but I want to put a thinner border on it, I think. Yeah, I want to see more of the photo and less border. And this one, this program by default, it'll make them 256 by 256 square. And that's how it turned out. Not too shabby for just throwing a photo in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and play around a little bit with the color settings. So you can make some adjustments, just like add a little lightness to it or darkness for contrast, and increase the color vibrancy and the clarity just a little bit. And you kind of get this more of definition in here. And then I'll just save over that. And that is awesome. So you can use that kind of thing in your world, or when you're setting up a game and you want some cool art. If you're using this for your personal use, you should be okay. Um, but if you're going to use these in a commercial product, you have to find out who all these artists are and find out what their agreement is and if they'll let you use their artwork and all that good stuff. So if I go to here again, I can Go to something newer. And did you say something about webs?
Yeah, I said webs would look really cool. By the way,
Okay.
I found out where those can be bought. It could be bought through Drive Through RPG. I got a link.
Oh,
I
okay.
put it in our chat.
Okay, cool.
5.99. You get 299 frames. I put the other link in the. I redid it, and it's still not in your. Yeah. Yeah, I see that. That is weird.
It's messed up. Something ain't right. All right. So
There,
using this
I just gave you the drive-through one. Let's see if that comes through. Maybe crypto cartographer is like got some kind of magic on it where it won't let you copy the link.
let's see that and that. Okay. So there's other frame options though. You don't have to just use the circles and base. There's actually cards. They kind of look like playing cards. So there's a wanted card. There's this cool looking thing here. So you can kind of make like your Magic the Gathering looking cards. I think that looks pretty cool. So I mean, you can do all kinds of fancy stuff with these token tools. I actually have a Magic the Gathering Magic set editor, so you can make your own. So I'll just show you an example. So there's like a Silver Marches one I made, and this was a fine elven bow +1, and it's like those weapon cards. It gives you the stats, and you got the little text for it, and then you got a picture of the bow. So these you can make your own. And here's the Moonblade, and there's Trollburn. That's the +1 fire blade. So you can make all kinds of cool little assets if you have time, or if you know what tools to use. So let's see. So if you're using Unity and you have a bunch of tokens, I've clicked on the assets folder, and you come over here to tokens. So you have all these folders here, probably of tokens that you've already created, or what have you. So you need to find one that's called campaign. Well, I don't really have one yet because I haven't added any to this campaign. So you'd have to click folder, and then you'd have to put some tokens in here. And once you've done that, it will bring them up into your session, and it'll also make a folder at that point that's visible to you. Then you'll have your thumbnails where you can actually see whatever tokens you import. So if I wanted to, I would just drag some tokens in there, and it would be used for whatever campaign you're working in. So you have the ability to purchase tokens online and get them already prepackaged. You can make your own, or you can buy them from the author and kind of doctor them up, or put them in your own collections. Whatever your license states, and your agreements and such. Let's see, what else do we have? Are you still there, Shell? Did we lose you? Or Anyhow, that is basically how that would work. Yeah, maybe she lost some bandwidth. Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyhow, the that's how you would put your tokens in. And once you do that, it will actually make a folder called campaign, and that will be where all your custom tokens are. So I'm not ready to do that just yet. And then, of course, if you're using Classic, you have an actual folder called tokens, and you can put those in your tokens folder on the back end. Let's see here now. Close that. Close that. All right, we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon, but I wanted to show you where I was going with this. So I'll find something creepy. Web Cavern Fantasy. Ooh. So I can use something creepy like that and make like a folder poster thing. Then I can insert some of the assets that I created and kind of make like a poster. So there's a spider witch. So you can kind of play around with different images, maybe put a little shadow on her so it kind of blends in with the photo. I can darken the correction on it. So you can do with this is cut this out and make a like a little postcard or whatever you want to do with it. And then I'm going to insert the but anyhow, you can do a lot of creative things if you wanted to. So that's just a matter of, you know, getting creative, having time that, you know, you're not wasting your time. But you have to play around with this stuff to get it to work for you. I'm still exploring. I'm not a big artist or anything, but I do like messing around with these. So got double vision. Oh man, what's going on? Now there's three of them. There's two twins. Anyhow, I think that's all I got. Thanks for joining, and when we come back, we'll try to find some more interesting topics. You guys go ahead and take care, and I will talk to you guys next time. Okay? Bye bye.